I used a classic cheat to win back my ex, though at the time, I didn't call it that. I told myself it was strategy, a small trick, a way of tilting the scales in my favor. But looking back, I see it for what it was: manipulation dressed in the clothes of sincerity, a performance that blurred the line between truth and fiction. It began months after she left me. We hadn't broken up with fireworks or slammed doors. It was quieter than that, almost polite. She said she needed space, that she didn't feel the spark anymore. I nodded, pretending I understood, but when she walked out, I felt like a building stripped of its scaffolding, everything exposed and trembling. For weeks I did the usual things: scrolled through her social media, typed out long messages only to delete them, replayed old voicemails where her voice sounded like the safest place in the world. Friends told me to move on, to accept it. But I couldn't. I didn't want someone new, didn't want to heal. I wanted her. The idea of the cheat came not from a book or a clever friend, but from a passing conversation at a cafe. I overheard two strangers talking about how their exes had suddenly wanted them back once they seemed happy without them. Something about that stuck in my mind. People want what they think they've lost for good. Desire blooms in absence. And so, I decided to make myself absent, but in a way that stung. I staged a kind of resurrection. I updated my life in ways I knew she'd notice. Photos of me laughing at dinners with friends she didn't know, vague posts about new beginnings, a picture of me holding a guitar though I hadn't played in years. I wasn't lying, exactly. I did go to those dinners, I did pick up the guitar, but everything was curated, polished, designed for her to see. The cheat wasn't about becoming better for myself. It was about convincing her I had already become better without her. It worked faster than I expected. One evening, my phone lit up with her name. My chest tightened before I even opened the message. She wrote something simple, casual. "Hey, have you been?" But I read between the lines. She had seen enough to wonder if she'd been wrong to leave. When we met for coffee, she looked at me differently. Or maybe I only imagine it. She asked about the guitar, about the trips I hinted at online. I let the stories spill, each one carefully exaggerated, but not enough to sound false. The truth was, I wasn't thriving. I was lonely, tired, still nursing the same ache she left behind. But across from her, in that cafe, I played the role of the man who had rebuilt himself. She laughed again at my jokes, touched my hand when she made a point. And then, after a few more meetings, she said she missed me. Just like that, the door I thought was locked swung back open. I should have been thrilled, and in a way I was. I got what I wanted: her smile, her voice on the phone at night, the warmth of her beside me. But it came with a strange shadow. Because deep down I knew it wasn't really me she had returned to. It was the version of me I'd crafted, the man who existed in photos and captions, the illusion of a life that glittered without her. We lasted a few months after that, long enough for the excitement to fade, long enough for the truth to creep back in. She noticed the gaps between the man I appeared to be and the man I was. She asked why I never touched the guitar anymore, why the new beginnings I posted about never seemed to materialize. And though I tried to keep up the performance, it grew heavier with every passing day. Eventually, she left again. This time there was no hesitation in her voice, no polite softness. She saw through me. And strangely, I didn't beg or scheme to win her back a second time. I couldn't. The cheat had worked once, but it left me hollow, ashamed of the game I'd played. Now, when I think about it, I understand why it failed. A trick might win someone's attention, might even win back their love for a while, but it can't hold it. Love can't grow in the soil of illusions. And the truth is, the only person I cheated was myself. I used a classic cheat to win back my ex, but the strange thing about cheats is they always carry a cost, one you don't see until much later. After she left me the second time, the silence in my apartment felt heavier than before. Every corner carried her ghost. I'd pick up a glass and remember her lipstick faint on the rim. I'd lie in bed and imagine the weight of her turning in her sleep, the soft rustle of sheets as she shifted closer to me. She was gone, but not gone. That's the cruelty of memory. It lingers like perfume long after the bottle is empty. I told myself I wouldn't cheat again. I told myself I'd rebuild for real this time. And yet, I found myself slipping back into the same patterns, replaying the same strategies. It wasn't about winning her back anymore. It was about proving to myself that I could still command her attention. I wanted her to look at me, even if it was with doubt, regret, anger. Anything but indifference. I crafted a new narrative online. If the first cheat had been about new beginnings, this one was about transformation. I posted photos of books I wasn't reading, tagged myself at events I barely attended, hinted at projects that didn't exist. I made myself appear untouchable, as though I had become someone mysterious, someone she could never fully pin down. And she bit. Not as quickly this time, but eventually. She liked a photo. Then another. The breadcrumb trail was enough for me to know she was watching again. It was a game of shadows. We both knew what we were doing, neither of us admitting it. When we finally spoke, her voice carried something new, suspicion. She asked sharp questions, as if she sensed the cracks. But the more she doubted me, the more I doubled down. I told stories of dinners with people I'd barely met, invented a mentor who didn't exist, painted myself as a man forever on the verge of something great. And once again, she came back. This time, though, it was different. She wasn't the girl who had left me once before. She had changed, hardened. She kept her guard up, as though she was testing me, waiting to see if I'd falter. And God help me, I did everything I could to maintain the mask. But a mask can only stay on so long. Lies rot from the inside. She started noticing things I forgot I'd lied about. The guitar, always the guitar, still sat in its corner gathering dust. The trips I claimed to take never left traces beyond filtered pictures. The new friends she never once met. She looked at me one night, really looked, and I felt her see through me. That was the moment the cheat cracked. We fought, not about the lies themselves, but about something deeper, the hollowness underneath. She shouted that I was obsessed with the image of us, not the reality. That I wanted the idea of her more than the truth of her. She wasn't wrong. I stood there, unable to defend myself, because for the first time I realized the cheat wasn't even about her. It was about me refusing to face the emptiness she left behind. When she left again, it wasn't dramatic. She didn't slam the door. She didn't cry. She just gathered her things and walked out as if she had been expected. After that, I tried to stop. Really, I did. But the cheat had become a habit, a drug. Even without her, I kept curating, posting, pretending. I told the world I was thriving, even as I ate dinner alone night after night, even as the walls of my apartment seemed to lean closer, listening to my lies. And sometimes, late at night, I wondered if she checked my page, if she still believed even a fraction of it. The thought that she might still be watching kept me going, even if the version of me she watched was no more real than a shadow on a wall. The truth is, I didn't win her back. Not really. What I won was a performance, a cycle that left us both emptier than before. That's the cruelest part of a classic cheat. You can bend reality for a while, but it always snaps back. And when it does, you're left staring at the wreckage, realizing you've fooled everyone except yourself. I used a classic cheat to win back my ex, and though it worked twice, the truth is it never really gave me back what I thought I wanted. Love, real love, isn't something you can trick into returning. But back then, I was too blinded by longing to understand that. The first time she left me, I thought it was temporary. She packed her things slowly, almost gently, as though she didn't want to bruise me more than necessary. She hugged me before she walked out, and I remember thinking, this is just a pause, not an ending. But the days stretched into weeks, and the silence between us thickened into something permanent. I couldn't bear it. I replayed the early days of us in my head like an old film, her smile when she leaned across a cafe table, her hand on my shoulder as we walked home at night, the way her voice softened when she called me by name. Those memories became both a comfort and a weapon. They reminded me of what I had lost, and they convinced me it was still mine if I could only find the right way to reach her. That's when the cheat came to me. At first, I resisted it. It felt dishonest beneath me. But desperation changes a man. You start to believe that the end justifies the means, that love is worth bending truth for. So I began to shape myself into someone new, or at least into the image of someone she might regret leaving. I remember the first night I staged a photo. I set up my phone on a shelf, arranged a half-empty wine bottle and 2 glasses on the table, and posed as though I had just finished an evening with friends. In reality, the glasses were both mine, the bottle too. But the picture told another story. A man surrounded, desired, moving on. Within hours she had viewed it, and I felt a strange thrill, like bait had been taken. It didn't take long. She texted. We met. She smiled like old times, though there was a flicker of something else behind her eyes. Curiosity, maybe, or suspicion. But I ignored it. I had her back. And for a while it was enough. But the thing about lies is they demand upkeep. Once you start, you can't stop without revealing the trick. I had to keep building the illusion. New stories, new photos, new hints of a life I wasn't really living. I told myself I'd make them real someday, that the act was just a bridge to the truth. But deep down, I knew. I was performing, not transforming. The cracks came slowly. She'd ask about people she saw in my photos, and I'd dodge. She noticed the guitar sitting untouched in the corner and asked why I never played. I made excuses. And then, one night, she asked me directly, "Are you happy, or are you just trying to look happy?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. She saw through me in that moment, and the air between us turned heavy. A few weeks later, she left again. I should have stopped there. I should have faced myself. But instead, I doubled down. If the first cheat was about showing her I could thrive without her, the second became about making her believe I was beyond her. I wanted her to ache with regret. I wanted her to think she had lost someone extraordinary. So I invented a new version of myself, sharper, more mysterious. I posted about projects I wasn't working on, hinted at people I wasn't really seeing. Sometimes I even bought tickets to events just to post the stubs, though I never went inside. My life online became a kind of theater. Every post a scene, every caption a script. And it worked again. She circled back, slower this time, but she came. We met. But she wasn't the same girl anymore. Her laughter was cautious, her touch delayed. She studied me with narrowed eyes, as though weighing truth against fiction. She wanted me, but she didn't trust me. And trust, I would learn, is the one thing you can't cheat. The end, the final end, came one winter night. We sat in my apartment, the air tense, both of us exhausted from the dance. She asked me again about the guitar. I tried to brush it off, but she pressed. And then, suddenly, she said, "You never wanted me back. You wanted the idea of me. You just didn't want to lose." Her words cut through me. I wanted to deny them, but I couldn't. Because maybe she was right. Maybe I wasn't chasing her at all. I was chasing the version of myself I thought I was with her. And so, once more she walked out. This time without looking back. After that, the cheat remained, even without her. I kept curating, pretending, polishing. Not for her anymore, but for the echo of her. For the chance that somewhere, in some quiet moment, she might still check my page and feel something. It became less about love and more about addiction, the rush of being seen, even if only through a lie. But here's the cruelest truth I've learned. When you build your life on cheats, you end up living inside them. The mask becomes the face. And one day, you realize you don't know who you are without it. I used a classic cheat to win back my ex. I won her attention, her curiosity, even her body. But I never won her heart. Not the way I wanted. Because you can cheat your way into someone's life, but you can't cheat your way into their trust. And in the end, that's what love really is.